I think I'm gonna start just so I don't cut y'all time short for review. Um, First, I'm gonna just talk through. Actually, before I do that, two events today. One today and one is on Thursday. The one tonight is a study night. ACM is hosting it with the Data Science Club. Um, I forgot what they want me to do for that, but it's gonna be basically like everybody's there working on what they're working on, studying for finals. It's gonna be food and all that there. I don't know, you know more details. My man is event planning, you know what I'm saying? So, you got more details? Yeah.
We having a study night. That's pretty good. And what's it called? When you sign up on the form, it's gonna tell you like what topics you're struggling with, and to send in a picture so that the coding tutors can know like what they need to touch up on. So, is there a way I could like send the RSVP link?
Yeah, I think I have it. I can write can you do like uh, dang, what is it called? Tiny URL. If you can create a tiny URL, we could just write it on the board so that people can do that. And then Thursday is the potluck. So this is like a farewell, closing out the semester thing. People bringing food and then we're gonna order food and all that. And that's Thursday. I forgot the room number. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be in 205 though. So.
Alright, man. I just made it.
All right. You finished now? All right, bet. Yeah, here's some markers.
So back in the drive.
So boom, today is really just final exam review. Final exam review. I'm gonna talk through what the final might look like, the details that I came up with, and then some tips for I guess like studying outside of today and tomorrow. So I'm gonna go into the details. Just like we did for midterm, I'm gonna let y'all tell me like what topics y'all might be struggling with. And I'll do the reteach. I'll teach it at a small capacity just to like refresh your memory, and then we'll go topic by topic. If we don't really have many topics, I have some things that I like compile myself that I feel like you probably want to know for the final. So we'll kind of do it that way. As for the final exam details, so you all's final will be on December 5th, 10:30 to 12:30. I don't know exactly where it's going to be at yet. Do y'all know where final exams normally at? Is it like in the auditorium or something like that, or?
It's in the classroom.
Oh, okay, all right. Then we're gonna have it in the classroom then, 10:30 to 12:30 on Tuesday. It's probably gonna look a lot like your midterm. The caveat is the TAs are helping make the final exam, but but that's but that's only the case because y'all have seen the same questions like over and over and over and over, right? For your quizzes, the exam, it's like you don't even really gotta finish the question because you know exactly like what it's asking. So they gonna give me like some fresh ideas, but I'm gonna really keep the nature of it the same as what you were saying, because I'm not trying to bring in and introduce confusion on the last assignment. You know what I'm saying? Like some people probably banking on this, doing well on this to pass the class, and I'm not going. You know what I'm saying? Screw your grade up at the end. So yeah, it'll look a lot like the midterm, but I'm only one person, so my mind thinks really narrow. So having them help me with this will, give you a real comprehensive like exam to finish off with. As far as the number of questions, because I don't know the questions yet, it's hard for me to say how many. But like, let's say the questions are more difficult, you're obviously gonna get less questions. If the questions are pretty straightforward, like 2-3 minutes per question, you probably won't get more because you got 2 hours to do the exam. But I think you roughly gonna have about 25 questions. The midterm was 23, and you had an hour, and a lot of y'all finished before. You had an hour and a half. A lot of y'all finished in like 30-40 minutes. So I'm thinking around 25, 30 questions, but that could fluctuate based on difficulty. So we'll see. Any questions on this piece?
So it's gonna be just like the quizzes. Just go back there with the quiz.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk through like what I recommend for studying. But yeah, just to like tackle that right now, I say go back through the quizzes, look at the midterm for sure, understand what you got right, what you got wrong, and then the homework will definitely help you too.
Last lessons like files.
Mhm.
Are those gonna be included?
Yep. So yeah, we didn't have a quiz on those, right? So it's like, dang, what would a question look like for those? I'm still trying to figure that piece out. Like, I think since I didn't give a quiz, it'll make more sense for me to like give practice questions for those. But as far as immediate things you can do to prepare for those, I say look at the homework. I'm not gonna give you anything I know you haven't seen before. So if I say read from this file and write to this file, you should know how to do that. You know, you gotta check if the file is open and then do this and then, you know what I'm saying? So the process is gonna be what you've already seen, but as far as like the phrasing of a question, like I'll give you all the details in the question that you'll need, but I'm still trying to like figure out how I can get you some of those resources before we have the exam. Huh? No, you said the 7th. I said not the 5th. The Tuesday.
What's the study session? Yeah, I won't take this one.
Oh. And the tiny URL link Alex wrote over there on the board to RSVP for it, just so we know like how many people to expect, what topics students need more help with, stuff like that. So this is what I think. Now this is probably pretty much what I know. You're gonna have like 4 types of questions. Nothing we haven't really seen before. Besides filling the code, I don't think we've like had much of that. But this idea came from the TAs and I kinda like it. The short response, we've seen a lot of that. Control flow, we saw some of that on the midterm, like given this large block of code, explain to me what it's doing, right? Follow it line by line, tell me this variable is being created, the value of it is being changed by this conditional statement. Once we get inside this conditional, there's another conditional inside of it, like step through code, analyze it, tell me exactly what it's doing. That's what control flow is. So I'm gonna click through and show like the examples of the questions that I'm referring to, but these are the 4 types of questions you should expect. So it won't be a lot of true and false. Those really are freebies. You got 50% chance of getting it right. Debugging, so that's like giving some code that doesn't work, tell me how we can fix it. That could also be a short response, because I could say, just tell me what's wrong with it, just explain what's wrong with it. Or I could say, write the code that fixes it, right? So that could be short response, or that could be you actually writing code. As for filling in the code, this idea, like I said, came from the TAs pretty much, but given some code, let's say I give you the function header and I give you parts of the function and I omit certain lines of code from the function, I need you to fill it in to make this function work as intended. Or I could leave out a parameter from a function header and say you need to fill it in. Like we'll tell you what you need to fill in, but you'll be responsible for determining, all right, this code is broken and I need to add this to it to fix it. So I'm gonna click through, and these are all examples. So you probably really want a picture of this one, because this is like literally these could be questions on the exam. I think I'm gonna spend a lot of time on this slide just so you don't like breeze over it and think like this stuff might not be on there, because it probably will be on it. Sleep. So the one that I think tripped some people up was question 21 on the midterm, which was this question. Any hands? Did this trip anybody up? It's like first time kind of seeing that figure. So remember, you following this code from top to bottom. First thing I do is I create this variable. Then I'm analyzing that variable. I'm comparing it. I'm saying, okay, is it greater than 0? Yes, it is. So then I go into this entire block from line 16 to 25. That is all one conditional statement. That is all one conditional statement. I think a lot of y'all thought, okay, once we pass this check, we just gonna print out that and then we done. Like, nah, you print out this and then you check the nested stuff inside of it. All of this is nested inside of that condition. So once I know 5 is greater than 0, the first thing I have here is to print out statement 1, which we're gonna do off rip. Then I have another if statement inside of it. So it's not this or this, no, it's this, then this. I check is 5 greater than 3? Yes, it is, so I'm gonna then print out statement 2. Once I print out statement 2, I now have another instruction that says decrement the value of n by 2. So now n goes from 5 to what? To 3. This is not an if else, so then I hit this piece. I hit line 22. Because once I come out of this if, I just go literally to the next line. N has a value of what right here? 3. So I'm saying if 3 is less than 5, which is what? True. So then I print out statement 3. And remember, this else is the complement of this if right here.
You don't have to do that.
You don't, right. You're not going to do the else because the whole if block executed. So I will print out statement 1, statement 2, and statement 3. So this is what I really mean by control flow. I want you to be able to analyze this code and tell me exactly what parts of it will execute based on the condition or based on like the state of some values that we define in the beginning. To a limited capacity because it's like the last thing we touched on, but yeah, pass by reference will probably be on there, probably 1 or 2 questions, because we didn't spend a whole bunch of time on it. But if that's something y'all want to go over, we have time to go over that too. So make sure you understand the idea behind this question. This is like, it's not gonna really look like this, but in the workplace, this is a lot of what you're doing. You're given some existing code and it'll be broken, and you have to tell everybody else why it's broken and how to fix it. So you have to, somebody could have wrote this 4 years ago, and you have to read it and step through it and determine exactly what part of it is like broken, and like you have to know that. So let's see another one. This was, or in my opinion, like a lot easier of a question, but taking something simple like this is kind of like the first steps to get into the question that we just did, right? Saying something like this, if you see an if, an else if, an else block, how many of these can execute at one time? Nope.
No,
Just one. Only one of them is going to execute.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So if the if happens, that means nothing else happens. If this doesn't happen and the else if happens, the else can't happen. Only one of these can happen, and then this whole block is just done. The whole block is done. So looking at this code, which of them, like what's going to be the output of this block?
Statement 1.
And why is it statement 1?
Because the first one executes, so the rest of them doesn't, right?
Right. Anybody confused why it's statement 1? Exactly, like y'all said, the if statement was true, because we know 11 is equal to 11, which our condition is. So we're going to print out statement 1, and then everything after gets disregarded. Everything after is disregarded. And then I threw the Wordle project on here as like something you probably want to look over for control flow, because y'all had to like create your own functions. I saw some of y'all create your own functions to like do a specific job, and then you plug that into an existing part of your code that's checking this and that, and then it's just like a bunch of steps in order, right? So you have to understand what am I trying to do with all of this code, and what are like the baby steps I have to take to actually complete that process. So going back over your Wordle project, I think that'll like help you understand the flow. Like first I do this, then this, then this. If this doesn't happen, then I need to do this, this, and this. Like just understand that a program is really complex. It's not one if statement that does a whole bunch of stuff. A lot of times it's all these interconnected pieces to like do one job. Let's see what was important in here. Pointing your attention to this piece, accidental fall through in a switch. I feel like this is really easy to forget. If you don't have that break inside of each switch case, it's gonna fall through, and once one happens, all of them after are gonna happen. After you like print out whatever you're gonna print out for your switch, you have to have a break after it for every case. And then we know the last case is called a default. The last one is called a default. If that's one of the things I need to reteach, I don't blame you, I reteach it. But are we good on this slide before I like open it up for topics to reteach? We straight? All right. I mean, I kind of went over this a little bit, but as far as studying tips, this is what I would do if I was studying for it. I would find me a group and go back through the homeworks. Really, I would pick the ones that I didn't really understand. Go back to those homeworks, maybe try it again, but work with a group so you can hear like diverse perspectives. Maybe somebody has an easy way of like remembering a certain concept that you couldn't think of. So like working in a group, I feel like that was what got me through college. So I really recommend working in a group, figure out what people understand, what y'all like commonly don't understand, and figure out a way to work through it. And then you always had me to like ask questions too, but like I said, Thursday is no school. So you probably won't see me after tomorrow until the final exam on Tuesday. Also revisit the midterm. So if you need another copy of the midterm or something, I can do that for you, or I can just like upload it. But go back through the midterm. I'm probably gonna pull some questions, especially for like week 0 through week 6 from the midterm. So like arithmetic, given that chart, this times this will give you what? This plus this gives you what? This mod this gives you what? We still have to remember that stuff, so I'm probably gonna throw it back on the final exam. And then going back through the lectures, because that's when I actually like talk through all of these concepts. I talk through certain questions. So you probably want to go back and just find a lecture on something that you didn't really understand, and maybe like skip through it. See what questions the class had during lecture. Like, I don't know, just see what people understood and didn't understand from when the concept was introduced. And so now, I guess I wrote on a board. I should probably move that. All right, boom. So we're gonna do a reteach. I want y'all to tell me what concepts we need to go back over, and like unanimously vote. If it sounds like it, right in the conditional, I'd like to see more hands to actually like prove to me that this is something that we like don't understand, or if you just need to independently like go back through slide. So give me the topics and I'll,
I think I personally struggle with recursion, like the like repeating, like condensing the code within that one lab.
Oh, the
Yeah.
spaghetti, the
Yeah,
message.
the message.
Oh,
spaghetti.
translating something to a function, like taking a big thing and
Oh yeah. That part has to
yeah, it's not gonna be on the final because like that would be such an involved question. You know what I'm saying? So we would have to write out like a big thing of code and then say translated. Like you won't really see that. That was more so to explain like the importance of a function and see like how it's useful in the workplace. But I do understand like how that can be difficult. The only real, like, we're not gonna put that on the final. The only real way to get better with that is like, honestly, for me, reading other people's code is what makes me see like, this ain't it. Like, I would use a function right here to just make it flow better. So I don't know, maybe read some other people's code and just see like how you would improve it. You know what I'm saying? That, or maybe read old code that you wrote and be like, dang, this could have been optimized.
Okay, that's a
Any topics? What's up?
Should I have
Switch.
I did, but I did it.
All right, I'm gonna say switch plus break. What else we got?
Output to files input.
You don't have to force it. If there's no real topics, I have like a list of topics that I feel like y'all should look over or that we should go over. So, are these the main two? All right, I'm gonna go over these and then I'll like bring up my list and see how relevant it is. So, switch and break. Let's see. I probably end up just doing like the homework again. So all right, so what I'm about to do is I'm about to do this assignment, this month's assignment under week 10, because I think it's gonna be hard for me to like write on the board.
Is the other ones gonna be on the final, like continue?
Yeah, kind of, sort of. Like, because those are like really small topics that we ain't really spend a long time on. I think, so it's hard to say how it's going to be asked on the exam because, like, I don't have no questions for them yet. But it probably is really going to be knowing the difference between continue and break. Knowing the difference between continue and break. It's not gonna be anything tricky. Like, yeah, it's probably not gonna be anything tricky. If a question come up and like we think of a question, I'm like, dang, they probably won't know the answer to this, then I won't give it. So, all right, I'm gonna try to do this homework assignment and see what we come up with. So this one is saying, let's see what it does so far. All right, so it's saying it's using some function convert month that doesn't exist basically. So what is the first thing I probably need to do? Yep, make the function. So where do I make it at? Let's say I want a function prototype for this because I want to create this function down here. How would I do that?
You do like the header.
Make it like the header. It's called convert month. And so what's the parameter for this function? String. I guess I can just call it month. That's what they call it here. All right. So after I create the prototype, I can pretty much just copy that, delete that semicolon, and implement. So when we create the prototype, it's called a prototype. When we actually go to implement, it's called the implementation. And this is, what is it returning? An int. We sure? String. Because when we use it, we see on this left side, it's saying, boom, take the result of it and assign it to a string. So what is it really taking then? An int. Because remember, month is right here. Month is what we got from the user. Yep. All right. So now it looks like we have our function defined. Boom. So we got rid of that error. Now we just, I guess, need to implement it, right? So what does the implementation for this function look like? I think what it's supposed to do is, it say you need to be able to input the month and use a switch statement to return the corresponding like string month. So if I enter 1, it should give me back January. So how could we do that using a switch statement? All right, so I'm gonna give it. So yeah, switch is what you're gonna start with. So I always write this part of the syntax out automatically. Just. Mhm. Yeah.
So then you do case 1,
Case 1.
and then
What's case 1? What do we do with case 1? See out, return. And so what we return, if they give us a 1, what do we want to return? January. Do we need to break right here?
Yes.
Yes.
Because you only want to return one of the months.
Can it return multiple?
If you don't have a break.
you need a break because I tried that in my code. I put like multiple cases and it returned all the months instead of the month I wanted. If you don't put break, it'll return.
Nah, you don't need no break right here. Nah. Yeah, return means leave this function. So it has to leave.
Oh, yeah.
But if you do see out, it can print out everything. Because see out doesn't mean leave the function. So normally you'll probably see something like this in like industry sometimes. Because if it's just like one instruction you're doing for each case, it's typically okay to just like put it all on one line. Dang, do I not have like a? Oh, thank God. All right, boom. Oh, my bad. So I handle case 1 through 12, right? And then we know we have to have that default. The default means if they give me any number that's not 1 through 12, what do I do? In this case, since the function has to return a string, I'm going to just return this empty string because we have to return a string. So now it looks like my function is probably going to do what I want it to do. So let's see if it works. So if I give it 12, boom, it gives me back December. So this is the first place that I use a switch statement. Remember, it's the keyword switch. I put the variable in here that I'm curious about what value it has. I'm curious about the value it has, so I'm gonna create a switch. This could also just be an if statement, right? Could be if the value is 1, then print or return January, else 2, you know what I'm saying? Like it could be an if else type situation, but normally, since we only checking the value of one variable, we're gonna use a switch statement. So that's the first part of the assignment. We need to convert it from a numeric month to a string. So then it says, after we get that month, we need to print out this month is a blank month. So we need the season. So I'm gonna try to implement that down here. I could create another function for that, but I think I'm cool with just having it right here. And I know I can't use any if statement, so I have to use another switch. Because depending on the month, it's gonna fall into a certain season, right? So let's see, how do I want to do this part? Okay, so what variable do I need to check the value of to figure out like what range it falls in or what season? Month. And so why am I not checking the string that we just got?
Yeah, you gonna do that one.
You sure? I like month, but why is it month and not right? It's checking the integer. Because if we give it April, C++ doesn't know what April is, let alone to know it's a spring month. But if we give it the number, we can say if the number is between this range. Yep. So my case is 12, 1, 2. So if it's 12, 1, or 2, we want to do what? Not quite return, because this function, like, we don't ever return 0 is the only return you should ever have inside of int main. So we just gonna print it out, right? That's what the auto grid is looking for. Do we?
We're gonna make something that's gonna. We're gonna give season something.
If it's 12,
Or you could just make it.
yeah.
The way I did it where I made season equals 1 times.
Yeah. Since we already know that this block up here should handle, is this winter, right? Yeah. I'm about to say. Since we already know this block should handle the winter months, we can just say, boom, this is a winter month. And pointing your attention to the syntax right here, because I know I couldn't do 12, boom, 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 2, because C++ doesn't understand 12 wraps into 2 because it's a year, right? It's thinking 12 and what comes after it needs to be greater than 12. So I can't just like simplify like this. But remember, if I don't have a break right here, it's just going to fall through to the next case. It's going to fall through to the next case. So let's say I did cout winter month, right? And let's say my month that I gave it was 12. Because there's no break inside of here, it's going to fall down to this. And it's going to do this because I never put a break up here. So a lot of times in industry, you'll see if all of these are, if this should happen, no matter if it's 12, 1, or 2, we just leave the case empty. We just don't put anything in it so that it falls through and that it does this. And so after I print, I need to do what? Break. So this means if it's a 12, 1, or 2, print out that month is a winter month and then break. So we've handled the winter months. I think I'm gonna just steal the juice. All right. Then I'll put a break in here. So looking at the solution, if it's 12, 1, or 2, I'm gonna print out it's a winter month and I'm gonna break. If it's 3, 4, 5, I'm gonna print out it's a spring month and I'm gonna break. After all of them, I'm gonna break because I'm just doing a cout. If I was returning something, then I don't need a break right there. Because return is just gonna exit the function automatically. So I've handled 12, 1, 2, all the way to 11. If it was something other than any of those values, it should print out this is not a valid month code. So let's see if it even works. So if I give it 12, December is a winter month. If I give it 0, 0 is not a valid month code. Let's see what happens if I mark it. Any questions on how we got this, why we got this?
I did it a different way.
Let me pull it up.
So like instead of you got cout statements under every point.
Oh, I see. So you just assign the value of the month or the season in the switch statement, and then you print it out once at the end. I like that too. So what he did was instead of printing out that long string in every one of them, He just used his switch to figure out what the season was going to be. Question.
I put them together in cases.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did the dot, and then I left the 12 separate.
Oh, okay. I'm pulling up all y'all work. Oh, okay, this is the function. Oh, I see. So you just made 12 like its own case. So if it's easier for you to remember like how to use a range like this, just do that. Like that's perfectly fine. That's perfect. Yep, exactly. Exactly. Because if you say the range should be 12 to 3, it's gonna say how is that possible? So any of those ways works for me. I think the main takeaway is that when you have your switch, the variable that you're checking is what goes in those parentheses, and then everything inside your curly braces is a case. If you're not returning in those cases, you need a break. But return serves the same purpose as break, honestly. Let's see what our next topic is. And then we had files. All right, let's see. So I'm gonna like kind of breeze over it a little bit. The key things that I can remember. So this is the Pig Latin assignment. So the first things, well, I didn't really do this like this when I taught it. So let me change it. So is there any like specific part of it that you want me to like touch on, so I ain't just like wasting your time?
Honestly, bro, like
The whole thing?
yeah, bro. The pig line should have fucked me up.
All right. So so a lot of that assignment was like stuff other than reading from the file. It was like all of this. Is it a vowel? Get the leading consonants and like to me that stuff didn't really deal with reading and writing to a file. Like that was just like other processing. So as far as using the file, right? I know that I should have some input file and some output file. My input file is going to be input.txt. So to create an input file, I need ifstring input.
Don't you gotta include it though?
Yep, exactly. Include fstring. So now I can say input file, and what goes in here?
Yeah, the text file.
Yep. And so since it says I'm writing to an output file, I also need, yep. Boom. So the steps that we need to go through for reading from a file is if input is open, we always need to check if the file opens successfully, right? Because let's say I put input.txt. Without this if statement, we will be trying to process the contents of that file, and there is no file with that name. So we need to first do that safety check to make sure the file even open. Next, we will have our while loop to process it, right? Because now we know the file can open. So what this was saying was each line is going to have 3 words. So my first thought was something like this. Just read each word into its own string. Read each word into its own string and like manually just translate each word. That was like what I felt like was the easiest. So I think that's what I'm gonna like probably end up doing again. So since I want to be able to read in 3 words, word 1, word 2, and word 3, I need to create those variables first. So I'm gonna say string, word 1, word 2, word 3. Because remember, in here is going to be like, in here C++ is actually going to take data from that file and store it somewhere. In order to store it somewhere, it needs variables. So in between that if statement and the while loop, I'm going to always have my variables being created. So whether I'm using getLine or whether I'm using an input operator, I need my variables either way. So I'm creating 3 strings because I said each line in my input file is going to have 3 words. So after I run this loop one time, it should have the word this stored inside of word 1, the word is stored inside of word 2, and then crazy stored inside of word 3. My bad, what'd you say?
Oh, no, I was just saying, that makes sense.
Yeah. Or I think like Peter did, he just like used getLine to get the whole line, and then he ended up separating it by the spaces. To me, input operator is going to do that anyway for me. If I know how many words are on each line, that's actually why I intentionally just made it 3 words per line so that you can just do it this way. So let's say I just want to get all the words from the input file and then just print them out by line, right? I could print out word 1. Let's say I just want to print every word from the input file on its own line.
Word 2, word 3.
Yep. And then at the end of my while loop, I'm going to close the file, right? Boom. So let's see if this works. Oh, my bad. So now I get every word from my input file prints on its own line, as expected. So, I mean, I'm not going to go into the whole solution for the homework because that was like. But as far as reading from that file, we finished. The only change if I want to like write this to another file is I could change cout to be output.
Oh,
And now this is going to instead just send all of that data to the output file. So now if I run,
what, so a new file?
I don't-
Output?
I'm not sure if we need to do that, but I'm going to do it. I think it's good practice. What'd you say?
I said, so a new file just go open up called output?
Right.
Oh, okay.
Output.txt, and this is going to have, so nothing, in this case, is going to print everything here, and nothing is going to be in our console, because we didn't say cout anything.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
We said just send all the output to the file. Because, like, in a real application, you're not really, like, just always spitting out stuff to the screen. It's like, if a user enters some data, you might send that data to a database. That's you writing that data somewhere.
That's a perfect example.
Yeah, exactly. What's up?
Based off of the first 3 letters, we can listen to the rest of them. How they put it.
So basically, you saying like, how did it? If I only made one for these 3, how did the other ones? So basically, so this is in a loop. Every iteration of the loop is going to take the 3 words from each line and chop them up and put one in each variable. So the first time it happens, it's going to use these as the 3 words. The next iteration of the loop is going to use these as the 3 words. Next iteration is going to use these as the 3 words. And once it realizes, all right, I can't give you 3 more, then it's going to stop. So it's going to keep reading them by 3s. But let's say each line had a different amount of words. I couldn't use that same process because it's going to give me 1, 2, 3. Then it's going to give me 1, 2, 3. And it's like, it doesn't work the same. So for this assignment, I had to do 3 words per line to like make it doable. Otherwise, it would be like, yo, how am I supposed to? We good on reading and writing. As far as topics that I think y'all should know and go back over, these first 2 are like, I really, really, really encourage you to like go over. So the first one is kind of like a intro to interview questions almost. So maybe y'all can tell me how y'all would solve it. So if I have a string, I have a character, and I have some value called n, right? I want you to tell me if that character occurs in that string n number of times.
Well,
I really like this as a final exam question myself.
so what I would do is I would first create a for statement, and I would do all the I stuff, and I would set it to make sure it counts every single character in the string, so I can get everything in the string. And then I would make a conditional statement, and if I put int I,
My bad.
yeah,
So, you're on the right track. The only thing I'm gonna say, like, before we even like go into, you know what? Never mind. You said, give me a for loop, and then we're gonna do what?
so int I equals 0.
And how many times we gonna run this loop?
We're gonna run this loop until I is.
The length of what?
I say greater than the string.
Greater than the string?
Greater than the string. Because once it's greater than the string, it'll stop reading the letters after it.
So you only want it while it's less than the length of the string.
Listen.
This condition, yeah, this condition. What you about to say?
Huh?
What you about to say?
If you do greater than it's gonna go like backwards, like it's reading
Yeah.
it back. But less than gonna read it from 0 to the.
Right.
But you want it to the length of the string. So.
Yeah. So where is this string that we keep talking about?
Oh, we gotta make it.
Oh yeah.
Let's say, so a little hint is when you see given this, and this, there's, what you about to say? Go ahead. It's a function. We gotta create a function. Yeah. Given means you given these as parameters.
Oh,
So if I have a function, what we gonna call this function?
Finding in.
Letter counter.
That's cool. That's cool. Letter counter. I would say occurs in times. This is what I would name it. Put int. So we return the integer.
True or false?
True or false? So what we put at the beginning. Boom. So the reason why I pivoted from letter counter is because, like, to me, if I call this function, I'm thinking it's going to give me back a number. But if I say occurs n times,
why is it a bull?
why is it a bool?
Yeah.
Oh, because we're checking if it exists in it.
Oh.
Right. Yeah. So it's like a true or false. If I call this function, I want you to tell me yes or no if this character occurs n times.
Oh, okay.
And so what are we given for this function? A string. Let's call it str. A char, let's call it c. And an int. And we're going to call it n. So now I have everything that I'm given. So for future reference in your shit, either in interviews or even like for the final, if I say given blank, blank, and blank, that means it's going to be given as a parameter to a function. So you should be looking to create a function. So since I said given a string, a character, and an integer, I have a string, character, and an integer. That's first step. Now I'm looking for that logic that you gave me down here. And so now we have a value that we can use, right, to get the length of. So I can say str dot length, and then what? So this is going to allow us to go character by character in our string, right? So what are we doing each time?
Checking to see if any of the characters are assigned. Or how many
You gotta
topic
check
characters.
if that
You
current
gonna
letter
check
is
inside.
You gonna check the
char.
placement.
Yeah,
Uh,
so
the
you
character.
know, if
Make a counter.
Yeah.
So what's this counter going to do?
keep track of how many times
Keep
it
track of how many,
times it
Okay.
the character
you know, like, if it is the letter,
Right.
So you're gonna start it at
so
0.
then compare it to the end.
Every time the letter is there.
So it's an integer. All right. So if something is something, we should do something.
STR at I
So if it's equal to C, that means we found this character. So what we?
You gonna
All right. And then
And then you got to make another one to check.
If
Check
counter,
if the int
outside,
is
I think
equal to the
outside
counter.
the loop, right?
Yeah, outside.
no, it's wrong.
it. So we could do it outside. So let's say we could do it outside, but let's say my string is 1,000,000 characters.
Yeah.
I'm looking for one. So do we want it outside?
No, just do it under the, if you put another,
If
the counter,
Counter is equal to
return true.
mhm.
And then outside all of that, outside the loop, then
type shit.
All right, bet.
Start there.
Any questions? If you have questions, please ask. This is like a really, really, really vital like algorithm to understand. It's like the gateway to so much stuff, like being able to write code. You're using a lot of different ideas in this. It's called a search, linear search. No questions? We all get it?
I'm trying to understand
Well, I
the
learned.
end part. How they
Which line is it? 410. Oh, so why we checking that right there?
really just
So you said why do we have this?
Well, I get why you need it, but I'm just
So the thing that we're trying to really do with this code is tell the whoever called the function, does this character occur in number of times inside of a string? So let's say I have
oh, so they're asking, they gonna put how many times it occurs?
right.
and it's gonna check
Well,
if that's-
not necessarily how many times, but let's say I call this function, right? If I call this function, I have to provide, and I'm gonna put it inside of a little thing so it prints out. I have to provide it a string, a character to search for, and the number of times I want that character to occur. So let's say my string is hello. My character is L, and I say the L needs to occur 2 times. So if I call this function, it should give me back true, right? Because the L occurs at least 2 times. Let's say it occurs at least, I'm gonna say it occurs at least n times because the way we have it, you might confuse it for an exact amount of time. So if the L occurs at least 2 times, we should print out true. So if I run this, I get true, or 1 for true. But if I say that L needs to occur at least 4 times, we get false. Because we only ever add to our counter when we find that character, right? So this if statement that you are asking about, this is checking, all right, did we see this character n number of times yet? In this case, n is 4, so we checking did L occur at least 4 times yet? So this must mean we went through the whole string, we didn't see it at least 4 times, so at the end we just return false. No, we didn't see it. I'm recording this, so this will like be on YouTube, but I'm gonna try to get through like as many of these as possible. I probably realistically only get one more. Well, this might be a simple one, maybe. So let's just create another function, actually. So this one says, given a string, return the middle character from the string. Okay. Okay, so how we start? The function. So what's the first thing we need? How do we set this function up? Char. I named it get middle char because that's what I'm expecting it to do, right? And so what am I given in this case? All right. So I heard divide the length by 2. And so what are we doing with this? It gives you the midpoint. This gives you the position. So what we do with this? Well, this is, if the length of my string is 10, this is just going to return 5. At?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I got a question.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Yeah, are you just counting? Is it in all cases in this case? Is the word even in this case?
So if it's even, then there is no like technical middle character, right? Or if it's even, then there technically like is no, right? But let's say we're fine with that. Just give me whatever we get as a result of this. But that is like the edge case to it. Yeah, that's it. This is it. So let's see if it works. So if I print out get middle char from hello, what should it print? L. Was that one hard? I feel like when y'all get something like, when y'all have to use that length inside of that at, it's like, it's confusing. Yeah. So just remember, like, that length is just a number. You have to use and apply that number to something, whether it's substring or dot at. Right, exactly. So if your function, that's why functions can be like helpful, right? If you know this function has to return a char, but all you did right here was divide. Dividing does not give you a char. So you got to use that result of division in some type of way. So this is the solution. What? Oh yeah. As far as, I mean, tomorrow we have like way more time to like go through the rest of the stuff that I had. But yeah, maybe just bring questions to me tomorrow. During lab time, we're just gonna do more review. Start there.